Hi, I'm Stephen Wilkes, and this is the Blueprint. And today I'm here with Don Johnson of Southside Together. So my first question for you is, what is quantum?
Quantum is, in a basic sense, a branch of physics. I'm sure people have heard of quantum from movies like The Avengers, but we're talking about it in a more realistic aspect. Quantum it's a way to have this extremely fast computing site. Not only can it encrypt data, but it can also decrypt it. So when we think about AI centers, we think about ChatGPT, there has to be a facility to compute all of these things. So quantum is not only this branch of physics, but it's also this up and coming development. It would be the first of its kind to compute these things at an extremely fast speed. So think of it as this next development in technology.
Like when it comes to the quantum campus, do you feel like that would be the purpose of it?
So when we're talking about IQMP, the Illinois Quantum Electronics Park, we are talking about a facility that is necessary not only for this computing for data, but also potentially a heavy military site. When you are protecting this much data, not only does it need the protection, but there are also those who are investing in this site as well. So with the quantum facility, they are planning to place it in a neighborhood where we already see a lot of environmental justice issues or environmental justice history. So what is claimed to be a development in technology is also an impediment to the existing community.
How has environmental justice helped shape the work for Southside Together in regards to quantum and the quantum campus itself?
So we can't talk about environmental justice in Chicago without talking about someone like Hazel Johnson. Hazel Johnson is considered the mother of environmental justice. Very similar to her, she lived in New Orleans for a period of time, came to Chicago with her husband, and she lives in this neighborhood known as the Outgate Gardens that was previously an industrial site, previously a site where we see these petrochemical plants. And even when these things are removed, for those who don't know what petrochemicals are, when you think about plastics, when you think about gasoline, when you think about all of these things that are kind of necessary for our daily functions, materials that we use, when these industrial sites leave, there is still a lot of soil, there is still a lot of air pollution that remains, the remnants of these industrial sites.
And there's no cleanup.
There's no cleanup, and that's what we call remediation for the soil. What Hazel Johnson realized was not only did her own husband pass away from the after effects, these carcinogenic issues, she began to see a pattern of people being impacted by the remnants of these petrochemical plants. And what I mentioned earlier is Outgate Gardens, they called it the toxic donut because this public housing complex is literally on the grounds of a previous site with all of these industrial issues. So I start with Hazel Johnson because the fight that she had for that neighborhood is the one that we need to resurface. And with that being said, the development of this microelectronics park, or AKA quantum, we are still seeing these same patterns of what could happen on a site that used to be a steelworker site, the soil that has not been remediated, and us trying to catch the causations, trying to catch the root causes before we begin to see the symptoms of what environmental racism can cause.
How has the history of environmental justice helped shape the work that Southside Together is doing in regards to the quantum lab, the history, especially here in Chicago?
Yeah, so first of all, Southside Together is made up of residents from communities South Shore, South Chicago, Woodlawn, and we're talking about just ordinary people. People who are working not just 9-to-5 jobs, but also people who have had experiences in higher education, people who have seen their own family members be displaced by places like either the University of Chicago, being displaced by large industrial complexes, being displaced by all of these large corporations who claim to seek investment in the communities, but it looks like the people's voices are not heard in the decisions being made for the businesses. So I think that Southside Together's work is really shaped by this idea of we do not want to be out of the decisions We don't want to be outside of what is being signed for what's being placed in our communities. So if we're talking about Outgate Gardens or Woodlawn or South Shore, once again, the patterns of not including people's voices who have to live there, that's what Southside Together is trying to do. There has to be this sense of solidarity and, hey, can I work in a clean environment living in this neighborhood? Is my rent price being hiked up? Is my energy bill going to be hiked up based on what is being built here? So those are a lot of the conversations that revolve around Southside Together. Back to the piece of environmental justice and what people think of. It's not just about, oh, can I plant this garden? Do I have fresh air? Basic necessities like housing are also a part of environmental justice. When we talk about homelessness rates, when we're talking about poverty, these are symptoms. When people are displaced, these are symptoms of root issues. When people are not provided adequate housing, when they're not provided adequate housing in a neighborhood where they can step outside their homes and have fresh air when they walk in the beginning of the day.
Are there any other requests, members of have you heard from members of the community? What are some of those requests that they would like to see or to know from IQMP?
Yeah, I think that the requests just in general have been to have more updated public transit systems. If you've ever looked at the Steelworkers Park over by the lake, it is kind of difficult to get over there, especially during the summertime. That's a nice walk. So we have to be considerate of people who do not have mobile forms of transportation. So that piece, pharmacies and grocery stores, grants for local businesses to not only be able to sustain themselves, but if IQMP is successful in constructing the site, how do we protect them once those facilities come? I think also too, just fresh garden sites, fresh places that are not going to be interrupted. If you were to go in different neighborhoods of Chicago, like the Gold Coast, Rogers Park, I think one of the most beautiful things is being able to step out of your home and have fresh air because of the greenery and the infrastructure that is set up for that. Can we promise that to the people in South Chicago, South Shore, Woodlawn? Is that already an investment or an idea to just simply have clean air? So I think those are some of the things that people are requesting. And then the last piece too, these kind of training programs for students that are in school, whether that be a trade, whether that be some type of pipeline to job sustainability, whether that be digital literacy or actual literacy as far as reading and writing as well. Those are the things that the community wants to see first and as a priority.
So what are some of the biggest challenges for Southside Together in terms of getting involved with the community about the Quantum campus and informing them about what Quantum is and everything that's happening?
Yeah. Some of the biggest challenges are simply just getting the word out, knocking door by door, canvassing, getting people to understand that just because they say, oh, we're providing jobs, how many jobs, what type of degrees do you have to acquire these jobs?
Yeah.
Also, remediation of the site, getting people to understand that you have to treat the soil, treat what the place used to be prior to actually putting a facility here. It's also a food desert. Are we going to have accessible grocery stores? Is there going to be this climate adaptive infrastructure? Are they going to still be able to have healthy, clean air? I think we could keep going on and on about this, but
can they go in the lake? And is it still going to be a beach?
It's going to be accessible. Exactly. Accessibility. These are just some of the issues that we're seeing.
If there's a way, how can people support Southside Together or anyone in the organization? How can we reach out to you guys?
Yeah.
How can the people reach out to you?
Absolutely. Social media accounts, I can link that later. If you want to participate in canvassing, just spreading the word, when we have our group meetings, when we are trying to get papers signed for people to understand what's going on, a lot of the support that we need right now is just spreading the word for people to understand and being literate about what the facility is, having more community conversations, and also investing in what would we rather see there, having a firm stance of what could replace this to actually help the community where it's being built.
Yo, thank you. Is there anything else or anything you would like to ask me?
Well, yes, I think the last comment would just be for people to sit down with their families and have these conversations, not just, oh, we're watching the news when we get up before we go to work in the morning, but thinking beyond the individual and how those conversations with your families can transpire, how those things spread. It would be better to see more conversations like that being spread than misinformation from so much news overload, so much information overload, and just bringing that back. Yeah. But thank you.